This is Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel. When I think about the critical issues facing Black and Brown residents in the St. Louis area, I often ask the questions: how did we get here? What's holding us back? And how do we progress? At 9 PBS, we want to deepen our understanding and change the narrative. Join me as I look for answers and discover solutions on today's podcast. Today on Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel, it might seem that some parts of life for African Americans are getting worse, or at the very least, issues like homelessness and literacy aren't getting any better. Beyond Housing is taking a comprehensive approach to create what they call real change. Next, CEO Chris Krehmeyer joins me to discuss a new and innovative approach called the Transformative Services Department. So what makes it so unique? We'll also be joined by Dominique Edwards, a Beyond Housing success story, who will describe how she used the opportunities given to her to break the cycle of instability. That's next on Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel on 9 PBS.
Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel is supported in part by Midwest Bank Center, the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation, and Orvin and Latrice Kimbrough.
Welcome to another episode of Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing, for liking the podcast. Some of you I know, because you've told me so, you download the podcast to watch it later. And I had the chance to meet one recent viewer. I've known her for years, and she said, "I'm obsessed with the podcast." She waits to get an alert, and you only get the alert if you become a subscriber. So she gets the alert and she knows another podcast is up and ready for your listening and viewing education. So become a subscriber and you will know when the new podcast comes your way. I also want to say we're working on season 2. In the right column of my 2025 calendar, because I already have one, I wrote Dream Podcast Guests. And there are 3 names on that list. And I am determined to bring them to you in our second season, among so many other incredible topics here at 9 PBS. So thank you for joining us. Today's conversation is with an old friend, Chris Krehmeyer in the house.
Ms. Daniel, always good.
Always good to see you. And a new friend, Dominique Edwards. How are you, my dear?
Good. How are you?
I am great. It's so good to have you.
Thank you.
And congratulations are in order because you were on a journey and you have succeeded with the help of Beyond Housing and the staff there. So we're going to talk about your journey in just a moment. But Chris, talk to us, and people at 9 PBS know you. They've seen you. You've been interviewed by Ruth Ezel. You've been interviewed several times on Living St. Louis, so your face is familiar.
That just means I'm old.
No,
it
means you've been around. You've been around. Beyond Housing, what do you do? And the where matters.
Beyond Housing is a comprehensive community development organization. Our mission is to strengthen families and transform communities to create a more prosperous and equitable St. Louis once and for all. Our targeted geography is the boundaries of the Normandy Schools Collaborative. We do work that is regional in nature, but a lot of our investments happen in the boundaries of the Normandy Schools Collaborative. We really believe that if we're going to change the trajectory of the region, of the families that again are wanting to achieve something better in their life, we have to recognize that everything is interrelated and interconnected. There's not a housing solution to fix everything. There's not an education solution to fix everything, a health solution, a job solution. All those things have to be in place, intentionally put together to help families like Dominique, again, achieve the great success that they are destined to do.
And the reason that you're here is because you've launched this brand new project, really a first of its kind, to finally look at poverty and take it down.
So for pick your time frame, 30, 40, 50 years, our country and our region has been spending dollars trying to alleviate the consequences of poverty at the individual level, family level, and the community level. And the reality is we failed. Not because the intentions weren't good, right, or there weren't dollars there, but it's our understanding of, again, what poverty does to people and place. So for us, and we've been doing this a long time, we really took the time over the last almost 2 years of reviewing how well are we serving families? What are their successes? And how can we get better? Because our outcomes, while they were good, quite frankly, they just weren't good enough for what we
Right.
believe people could do. So quite frankly, we just broke our delivery system and said, because we had internal silos, right, in all those buckets, because as our name implies, we do a lot of stuff in addition to housing. And the communication across the organization, while it was okay, it was not satisfactory in terms of what we believed we could do and then serve families like Dominique's in a much better way. So we said, stop doing stuff that don't work,
Right.
right? And
And stop doing so many different things and not connecting them.
100%, right? So what we're trying to say to the region is if we're going to be all we want to be, we have to stop leaving so many people behind, right?
Absolutely.
And what happens in so many communities, right? Folks struggle, and the response to their challenges are typically isolated and siloed, and never allow for the full breadth of what a family can achieve. Never allows for, there's going to be another bump in the road somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? There's typically not one simple thing that if we just solve for this one simple thing, magic happens. Every blue moon, maybe. But most folks have a series of challenges, right? Brought to them because of systemic racism, brought to them because systems don't work, brought to them because there's not enough dollars to do the kinds of things that we should do for all of our neighbors in the St. Louis region. So again, for us, we want to be better at serving the families that reach out to us, serving the families that live in our rental homes, serving the families that, again, live in the boundaries of the Normie Schools footprint. We want to do a better job, deliver better services, what you need, how you need it, and when you need it, to, again, allow families to be successful.
Dominique, you struggled and you're not struggling anymore. And so take us to that part of your life where you were struggling. What was going on for you?
Well, I was pregnant at the time, and it was just me and my daughter. I was living in an apartment working for Mercy. And when I discovered I was pregnant, I was just like, well, if I have a boy, I think I want to be in a house. Like, I had a girl, I have a daughter. So I'm like, I don't want to put them in the same room. I was in a 2-bedroom apartment. So I'm like, I'd rather just rent a home. I wasn't ready to purchase a home. So I wanted to take those steps. And when I was online looking for a home to rent, I was just looking at homes randomly. But I do remember a coworker of mine telling me that she did purchase a home through Beyond Housing, but she said they do have rental homes. So that's when I went back online and looked that up, and I submitted my application because I did look into all the services they provided. I'm like, I need all of that. I need help with all those things right now. And I filled out the application. They contacted me a week later, and the young lady I was speaking with, I just submitted everything she asked me for. It wasn't anything hard. I submitted all my paperwork. That process went by pretty smoothly. They got me a list of homes. They told me to choose like my top 3 to 5 homes I would like to view. And I picked them. We went to see them, but I really didn't like them in person. So that's when she told me, she said, you know what, before we waste our time to go look at anything else, we are building new homes in Pine Line right now. And did I want me a brand new home from the ground up? I'm like, yes. So me and my mom was like, absolutely. And she was like, well, all I need is the deposit. You have that today? I'm like, yes, I do. I went to the bank, got my money order. She took me by the homes. At that time, it was just the foundation and dirt. It wasn't up yet. So, but she was like, when it's finished, you're going to love it. Our homes are beautiful. Like, you're going to love it. So fast forward, I was doing July. That home was done in June. So, yeah, it was done. I got to see my home, and like she said, it was beautiful. And she handed me my paperwork and keys, and she left me there.
Welcome.
And yeah, she said, it's yours. See you later.
And so you mentioned that you looked at Beyond Housing's website,
Yes,
and all the different things they offered, and you said, I need all of those things. Talk about all of those things.
So yes, ma'am, they help with assistance, utility assistance, food, all of that. Like, I'm like, okay. And then like I said, I'm pregnant, so I see that they did help with diaper drives, banks, and things like that. So I'm like, that's what I needed. I needed all of that help. So
we connected you to Nurses for Newborns, didn't we?
Yeah. So the Nurses for Newborns, they contacted me with because like I said, I was working for Mercy, but I wasn't there long enough to get paid maternity leave.
Ah.
So that's where Beyond Housing stepped in and helped me with Nurses for Newborn. And they're the ones who helped pay for my rent, bills, even my car note, insurance, everything. And they are the ones that stopped by with the diapers, with wipes. The nurse came to check on the baby, like to help me. I was trying to breastfeed.
Good
all of
for
those
you.
things. Yes, ma'am. So they helped with a lot of things. And then by that time, the pandemic started shortly after that. So they dropped off food. They were calling anything, in getting ready to get cut off, things like that. So,
And Dominique, for people who may be listening to this and they heard you mention your mom,
yes.
people might be thinking, well, if you didn't have that help, you had money for the down payment. If you
Yes.
didn't have that help, were you going to be another homeless person?
No, I was working. I wasn't going to be a homeless person, but
You weren't going to be able
Yes.
to advance your
Right,
life.
exactly, because again, I wouldn't have had paid maternity leave. So wherever I would have went outside of my Beyond Housing, I probably would have had to move back in with my mom. I didn't want to do that. So yes, ma'am, Beyond Housing stepped in and helped me with that. Like, I let my advocate know who was working with me, and that's when she was like, okay, give me all your information, job information. I submitted all of that, and that's how she got me started with the Nurses for Newborns.
Have your eyes been opened to the possibilities of your own life, of your own career, of your own?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Yes,
Talk
ma'am.
about that.
So I was in my home for 3 years. And then that's when I worked with Miss Esther with Beyond Housing at that time for the home buying process. I'm like, I think I'm ready to step out and do that, because Beyond Housing, it's a wonderful program, but it's not for us to live off forever.
Say that again.
Yes.
Right. So help you get started, get stable, and then
there's a stepping stone for you, and that's what I used it as. So I went through the home buying process, the classes, all of that. It was hard, but it's possible. You can it's doable. You can get it done. And then they have a whole team behind you that is helpful. So I was able to get through that. I'm in my home. And then now I want to start my own business. I want to start my own home health care agency. And I have my LLC for Enchanted Homes Home Health Care Agency now. And I did see on the website that you all have a business.
We do.
Yeah, so I was
okay.
like, I
She's
think
checking
I
you
want-
out.
Yes, I am. I'm
Yes.
still looking.
Come on back. Come on back.
Yes, so I'm like, I think I want to go back and do that, since now I want to start my own business, and I think they'll be happy to have me back.
So Dominique went from pregnant and about to not work, have a baby,
Yes.
and not have any paid leave at
Right,
all.
paid
So no
leave.
money coming in.
Right.
Possible, maybe eviction. Got to move back in with mom. Mom is like, girl, you better get yourself together. Okay, you go from that to renter
Yes, ma'am.
to homeowner.
And to maybe business owner.
Now I'm big.
And likely, I would say, Chris,
Yeah, it's
likely.
She's
happening.
achieved everything else so
She
far.
said it's
Karen.
happening. Did you hear that, Chris?
It's happening.
She
heard
said
it.
it's happening to business owner.
So
Yes,
we have a
ma'am.
program called Biz Start Smart, right? For exactly the again what Dominique started about, kind of an early startup, kind of early going on pre-cash, and it's 12 weeks of you get mentoring, you get technical assistance. We have you talk to marketing folks and banking folks and legal folks, right? How do you get your business up and going? If you get selected to the program, now it's competitive, right?
Yes, I'm a try.
You get $1,000 if you get in just to get started. Welcome.
Wow.
And then we take you through 12 weeks, and then there's a Shark Tank-like event
pitch.
at
Yep.
the end.
Yes, it
is.
I think I've heard staff call it more dolphin-like. It's not it's not quite
It's a
so
puppy.
not,
Puppy tank.
not
Yeah.
quite so aggressive.
Yes, thank
but,
you.
But the first
But
place
selective.
Yeah, the first place winner gets $5,000. The second place gets
Awesome.
$2,500. Third place gets
Okay.
$1,000. Right. But
Yes,
again,
sir.
it's really about positioning entrepreneurs and hardworking, driven people like Dominica, the jumping off point to help them be successful.
I don't know that we fully understand as a broader society, certainly broader St. Louis, what poverty looks like anymore. I mean, we know we have homelessness, and we know what that looks like. What does poverty look like? We know there's a federal salary number.
And look, at the end of the day, there is a sizable portion of the population in the region across the country that simply cannot make enough money to make ends meet. And there's a whole host of issues there that's all wrapped up into that, right? So for us, when we think about place as an example today, the Normie School District is provisionally accredited. It's working hard to get better, but today it ain't great. Right. And we know the process of if you don't get a good education, it's hard to get a good job. If you don't get a good job, you can't live in a good neighborhood. If you don't live in a good neighborhood, there's a chance you can't get a good education, and the cycle continues. Right.
Yeah.
So what it forces people to do is scuffle, and I appreciate the notion of grit and resilience. But if you have to have grit and resilience every doggone day of your life, it gets old and wearisome
and it has
hard
a physical effect.
It absolutely wears you down. And if you think about levels of instability for children as well, right? We see so many families in our community and that we serve that are bouncing from place to place to place, right? They didn't have the stability that Dominique had, right? You're getting evicted, or something bad happened next door, or your landlord's not taking care of the place, or you lost your job, or the car broke down, or all the things that happen in people's lives that causes turmoil, and right, and again, for a child to live in that turmoil is stressful, it's hard, and it certainly impacts their educational journey and prevents them from being everything that they might possibly be. The other reality is we know that so many of the children who live in poverty are behind when they reach their first day of kindergarten.
Yeah,
and that's just unacceptable, right? And again, we're positioning children to fail. Because as a society, we don't have the courage to invest in the things we know. We categorically know. The research is in early childhood education. If you spend money there, it's good for the child, it's good for the family, it's
good for the community.
100%.
Yeah.
Do we do it?
No. We fight it. As a matter of fact, we fight it.
Yep.
They fight it.
Right. So again, there are so many folks who want a better life, who are willing to work hard, but systems don't work. So much of what we're trying to do is bend systems to work for folks, right? So when Dominique was out and didn't have didn't get paid while she was on maternity leave, right? There should be a system in place that supports her, so she's not worried about and doesn't have to be lucky to find Beyond Housing and Nurses for Newborn and others, right? So why don't we have a systemic way where we are ensuring that everybody has an opportunity to succeed? Dominique had to work hard. She had to be committed. She had to do her part.
Yes.
Right. She had to show up.
Yes, I did.
But there need to be a system like us
Yes.
in place
to be responsive,
to
right.
plug into to say, I'm going to do my part. I just need your help to get me through these systemic things that don't work. It's not because I'm not willing to do my part. The systems that we have created do not allow for everybody to live their best possible lives.
Mary Elizabeth Grimes at Marion Middle School, who you and I both know, she was on the guest on the podcast. She said there's not alarm. We should be more alarmed about, for instance, and she's in the educational space, of course, about literacy rates. And you're talking about early childhood education and the vicious cycle that we have been on. All of these things we should be alarmed rather than judgmental. We should be alarmed that a woman who is working is not going to be able to have paid maternity leave. We should be alarmed that what would happen to her, what would happen to her child, her newborn. We should be alarmed, but we're not.
I wasn't there long enough. So, that's why I didn't.
Still.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Well, whether it's your employer or we as a society. Said, you should be able to stay home with your child and not worry about having to pay for food, having to pay utilities, having to pay rent, right?
So when you talk about the transformative, what's the official name? I said it earlier.
Transformative Services Division.
Transformative Services Division. That.
The intent.
That's a sea change. That's a corporate structural change.
Intentional.
Some people are kicking and screaming, probably not under your leadership. But when you're talking about changing an organization and its methods and processes, That can be difficult.
Yeah, look, change is hard, right?
Right.
People like the things that they do, right?
Yeah.
And when you turn it upside down,
Get used to the things,
That's
right.
right. They get used to it. So look, I mean, look like anything. We had early adopters who jumped in early. Yeah, I'm all in. We had a number of folks who took a minute, and we had a couple folks came kicking and screaming, and some of them they didn't make it all the way.
Well, that's that's all right.
That's just
your
how this works.
decision.
But again, for us, we are unwilling to do things we know just aren't working as well as they should. Right. So again, the issues around what happens to people in place. We are hell bent to change. Right. We're building housing. We're rehabbing housing. We own a movie theater, a food hall, a health facility. We're intentional about creating a sense of place and empowering and providing resources to folks where they want to stay in our community. They believe in the community and it has everything that they want and need to live their best possible lives.
I do love this story of the woman who, I don't know if she's still there, who works at the theater and lives across the street.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
She's still there?
Yeah, absolutely. Miss May.
Miss May.
Miss May and Miss Meredith, both. Yeah, they're wonderful. Again, and that's the kind of intentionality, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the movie theater was created because the community said we don't want to have to go to the Esquire or to
Chesterfield
or
or
wherever,
whatever,
right?
Yeah.
And we know our children get eyeballed when they go there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why can't we have our own community? So we built and built a movie theater. We operated, and then we said, okay, well, we have a match savings program at Normandy High School. So when the kids save $1 or the family saves $1, we match it with $3 to pay for post-secondary education. Well, let's hire some kids from the high school to work at the movie theater, so when the paycheck comes, it automatically gets tripled, so they can pay for post-secondary education, whether that's 2-year, 4-year university, whether that's
And
ranking.
it's been happening long enough that you've got kids now in college.
I got 450 kids that have either gone or completed. We have 140 plus college graduates. We have one doctor. Dr. Covington is at the University of Wisconsin in Madison doing his residency. So again, the intentionality of right. Yes, it's economic development because people ask about it's entertainment, but yes, it's connecting them jobs to kids who are in our match savings program. It's connected to the senior building, which is a stone's throw away, to say, can we have folks literally walk across the street to come to their job? Right? It's all being intentional about how do we change the trajectory of people and place. And the way you do that is by doing things differently that are going to change the fabric of a place and change what's going to happen in this community.
We have this thing in St. Louis where we will study something to death, and then the study gets put on the shelf.
I'm done.
Yes, Chris Kramer said he is done. I am done with that. I'm done with that. So the Aspen Institute was one of those.
Oh yeah.
Who got involved in this transformative services department, Health Equity Works.
Yes, that's all. Again, all the research is in. Right.
We don't need to study one more thing.
God bless the researchers, but no. How about we do it?
Yeah.
And that takes courage to change, right? To again invest differently, right? St. Louis is a very generous place, but we sprinkle money around a little bit everywhere, right? And it hasn't gotten us any kind of results.
Am I wrong, Chris, in thinking that there's a segment that is also done? They are writing off some segments of the community and saying I'm done.
And well, people are weary of how come we can't
Things aren't
fix stuff.
changing, right?
And that de facto then blames folks who had nothing to do with bad systems that don't work, right? And resources that aren't available, and again, a lack of equity of opportunity for people to be successful. So that is true, and it's understandable on some levels, right? So from a regional perspective, we're trying to tell our story for the region to say there's a possibility that this could be a way to change things in a dramatic way. And again, if we could just have the courage to say, let's invest in that in a real and meaningful way. Let's try to let Beyond Housing and all our partners get to scale and see if this thing really does work. And if it does, then let's replicate it. Because everything we're doing in Normandy can work everywhere in the region.
Right.
Whether it's in Riverview, whether it's in Rittner, whether it's in the city of St. Louis, it's all the fabric of all of that, right? is needed in a whole bunch of different places. And how can we as a region, wouldn't it be great if we known for St. Louis was the place
Right.
who had the courage
Yes.
to change public sector, change private philanthropy, change the common sense of who are we as a region, where do we want to go, what do we want to be, and how are we going to bring everybody along so we can be successful.
And Dominic, your son is how old now?
He's 5.
5.
Yes.
Able to talk and see and observe and say,
Absolutely.
"Mommy, this is my room, my house."
Yes, absolutely.
Talk about
He's the boss.
as a I would call you a young mother. I don't know how old you are, and I don't need to know.
She
but
looks really young.
She
to
looks
me.
very young.
She
Yes,
does.
but as a young mother,
Yes, ma'am.
how meaningful is it
It
for your
feels-
children to be able to see? Because your daughter's how old?
She's going to be 13 next
Ooh,
month.
Lord have mercy. That just hit me right here. Because I will always remember being a 13-year-old girl.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
God bless you. In this other journey,
Yes, ma'am.
having a teenage girl in the house.
Yes.
So she also is watching and
Oh,
seeing
absolutely.
you. How
She
meaningful
was
is it to
watching
you?
then.
Yeah.
It's everything. Like, my daughter tells me all the time she's proud of me. So and she's happy, like, because I'm also in school online with Maryville University taking my bachelor's degree for healthcare management. So she sees
Superstar.
all of
Super.
Yeah, she sees all of it, and she is a big help with her brother. She's always been, and I'm proud of her for that. Like, I don't have to ask too much when it comes to her brother. And then, but that little person, he is the boss of the house. So he's been stomping around the house. Like I said, we were in there for 3 years. So he's been stomping around and making all the noise. So I love it. My kids enjoy it. We have our backyard. We have everything I wanted for them. And again, if I didn't have Beyond Housing, I would have been stuck, like he's saying. I don't know the resources. I don't have those plugs or the networking to talk to certain people.
Or
they
the
do.
or the time.
Or the time. Yes.
Right. I mean that's the
Absolutely.
other thing. Systems don't work because how are you supposed to try to find resources when you're up to your eyeballs and everything else?
Right.
It, again, we make it so hard for folks. But look, what Dominique's story is the power of what's possible, right? Right. She's driven. She's committed. She just needed a little help along the way. Right.
Right.
The stuff we didn't do, the stuff we helped her with wasn't so gigantic. Right. It was we in the right space at the right time with the right resource to make sure that she didn't have a big tumble. Right. Right. It's this idea of the analogy of we use the term safety net in our society. Right. But what safety net implies is you have a free fall till you hit bottom. Right. And what we like better is the idea of a bit of a handrail. Right. So you're on your journey in life, and all of us
Yes.
at some point trip, stumble,
Yep,
get a little unsteady,
absolutely.
reach out, grab the handrail so you can stay right where you're
Steady
at.
yourself.
Right? And don't have the free fall all the way back
Back
down
down.
and
Right.
start your journey all over again, right? So the power of what's possible again, and for us to do that, quite frankly, it's just a matter of resources, right? Dominique is wonderful, but she is not alone. There are so many other folks
Right.
in the region with just a little bit of help at the right time, at the right place, can do wonderful things, right? She's about to be a business owner, as far as I can tell.
Absolutely, and a degree
Right.
holder.
Right.
Yes,
and
I feel like I'm a slacker, Carol.
Yeah.
I need to. What am I doing?
The one thing I would never call you, Chris, is a slacker, Chris Perrymeyer. But you also represent for me, Dominique, and for this podcast, in the face of the attitude that Black people don't care,
Oh, yeah.
and you clearly care about
ma'am.
yourself, your son, your daughter, your mother, your community, your life.
Yes.
You care about your life. And there is sadly an attitude, a belief that Black people don't care. And it's some Black people who feel that I can't get ahead. I don't know how. They won't let me. There's all kinds of different impediments, hurdles in the way, and attitude is one of them. And you had the right attitude.
Well, it's a wonderful role model. I mean, look, you heard her describe her children. I mean, she shouldn't have to say, I'm not being a role model. Her kids see her work every day.
Right.
Her kids see how she lives her life, right? She is representative of, again, the power of what's possible.
But I know that for instance, when you were trying to get the theater built, and clearly you did, that you couldn't find. People were saying, "No, I'm not. I don't want to come into that community.
Yep.
And you and Beyond Housing decided, well, we'll do it ourselves, and we'll find a professional to run it, and you did.
Yeah.
But there were those who did not want to come into the community.
Absolutely, and that's still the case, right? I mean, and we still have to break down the stereotypes of that's those people over there,
Right.
And I don't go to that. I don't go to that part of town, right? Because I have this perception of what it is. So again, so much of this work is trying to tell a different narrative about, again, the power of what's possible, both at the individual level, and Dominique is a great exemplar of that, but the power of possible when it comes to community, right? When it comes to neighborhoods. We can change stuff. We really can, right? We're not curing cancer. We're not sending somebody to Mars. We're not doing any of that crazy stuff, right? We're simply saying, how do we support families? How do we support individuals to live their best possible lives?
How will you know that the new Transformative Services Department is more successful than what was happening before?
Outcome measurement, right? Right.
Yeah.
How many families are progressing? How many families are reaching their goals, both interim and their final goals? Right. Again, how are families telling us their journey with us has been? Right. I wish I could tell you 100% of folks have Dominique's story. They don't. Right. And some of that is them, and some of that is us. Right. Right. So again, we want to have the outcome, short term and long term, the both quantifiable and qualitative, that says it's better now. Right, and we'll always strive to get even better, because again, the folks that reach out to us deserve us to be our best and to give all that we have and to be really effective at what we do.
What's missing?
I think more capital, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, look at the end of the day. It's and I don't want to be too crass about it, but yeah, it is about money. Right. Again, everything we do costs dollars. Right. I need to build more housing, rehab more housing. I need to have more staff so we can have more stories like Dominique. Right. I want everybody to say, when they raise their hand, say, I need a little something here. I want to make sure we're on
able.
it.
Yeah.
We're
We
on
have
it.
it.
We're on it. We're on it. Right. And then from a community standpoint, right, we gotta keep building. Right. If you drive along Page Avenue at Page and Ferguson, It looks great. You go one block east or west, it doesn't look as great.
I was going to tell you, I'm driving along, and you're like, "Oh, I'm here."
Boom, right,
And then I'm out of it.
Right.
It is only a certain, because that's
it's a tight.
that's all you've been able to do so far, and you
and
want to do more.
That was a heavy lift to do all of that,
Yeah.
right? And the biggest stumbling block is the capital to get it done. Right. Again, that's philanthropy, that's debt, that's equity, that's tax credits. There's just not enough of that. And look, and the reality is, again, not unlike early child education, when we invest in community, everybody wins, right? So if you build new housing, guess what? Property values go up. Property values go up. The tax base goes up. If the tax base goes up, guess what? School district
Schools,
has more
yeah.
dollars. Public
Yeah.
safety has more dollars. Infrastructure dollars are there. And guess what? The region gets better.
Absolutely.
It's not about us and them. It's not about city, county. It's not about my muni versus your muni. It's about all of us together, right? How do we stop what we've always done historically, right? Both sprinkle
Once
money around
and for all.
Amen.
Chris,
Amen.
thank you.
Always good to see you. Ms.
Always
Dan.
good to see you, Chris Kramer, who is the CEO of Beyond Housing, and Dominique Edwards, who will be the owner of
Enchanted Homes
Enchanted Homes Healthcare Agency, and is
coming.
working on her bachelor's degree in.
Healthcare management.
Superstar.
I'm tired.
I'm
tired listening to
I'm
that.
slack. I got to step my game up.
And the mother of two.
That's right.
Yes,
And the
That's
mother
right.
of
That's
two.
right. That's
Thank
right.
you so much, and congratulations
Thank
to you.
you
And
for
keep
having me.
on working hard.
Yes, ma'am.
We
I will.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you as well for joining me for another episode of Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel. Don't forget to subscribe, to like. You can even download the podcast, watch it later, and leave us comments. We love to read those as well. If you have an idea of someone or an organization, a company, an individual, or a topic you'd like us to discuss, please let us know. Thank you so much for joining us on Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel here on 9 PBS.
Listen St. Louis with Carol Daniel is supported in part by Midwest Bank Center, the Betsy and Thomas Patterson Foundation, and Orvin and Latrice Kimbrough.